welcome to Hagerty High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted by the Double Eagle. Once again, we're live from the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. Rex Brewer along with Dane Fuelling. And Dane, what do you got in store for us on the old episode tonight?
Oh, we've got a full schedule tonight. We've got a couple of call-in guests. We've got an in-person guest.
We got a wonderful in-person guest.
Pat Culp has joined us tonight for the show. She's going to talk a little bit about some of the ongoing things with the Coaches Association and with the ISWA, and a couple of new tournaments that are on tap. And, of course, she's got her hand in everything. She even brought her handy-dandy spreadsheet.
She brought her handy-dandy right-hand person, too.
Yep, and she informed me that I have a new job, which I didn't know about when I came into the restaurant an hour ago, but that's how it goes. We're also going to be joined by Coach A.J. Bradley of the Muncie Central Bearcats, along with, later in the show, Mike Reiser from IndianaMat, as we are heading into the first season, or the first week, I should say, of the boys' season. And we have another girls' broadcast this week. We've got our first boys' broadcast this week, and the first round of tournaments is on Saturday.
You have a girls' broadcast this week. I have a football game to do. And this week I'll be indoors, and I will not be freezing outside like Mike Mockey and I were on Friday night.
Well, the word on the street is that John Kentz might be joining us on Thursday for a broadcast.
What a deal.
He didn't hear us.
Yeah, he's not listening. He's out of speaker range.
It will be fun, that's for sure. So, as we said, we've got broadcasts on Thursday and Friday. There are some tournaments on Saturday. We'll be talking about those with Mike Reiser later on in the show. If you didn't get your preseason mag for IndianaMat, it is available. All the rankings are on there, along with regional previews, weight by weight, and class by class rankings are on there. Pound by pound for the freshmen, for the sophomores. So check those out. Jump on IndianaMat and purchase your either digital or your in-hand copy. They've got 3 different copies, Joe does, for it, and I think you can see it there on your screen. He took 3 different wrestlers and made 3 different individual front copies, which is kind of nice. You can choose which one you want, or you can just do the digital download and get it immediately. Although, Rex, we discover every year that some people aren't exactly in total control of their downloads folder on their PC.
Okay.
There's a couple people who buy the magazine and then say, I can't download this. And, Joe, he knows everything. He's like the CIA.
Oh, yeah.
He says, you've downloaded that 17 times. Not everybody can go from clicking the download button to the reading button. So sometimes we need some technical help. Maybe those are the kind of people who should just buy the...
Those people think, it's not doing anything, click it again. It's not doing anything, click it again. No.
Maybe they should just buy the paper copy, but that's beside the point.
You can have your choice whether they want Charlie LaRocca on the cover, or Kyrell Lavelle, or Will Clark.
Yeah, a very cool addition. I think, it's been 8 or 9 years they've been doing the preseason mag. All of the rankings available to you at your fingertips. Those won't be available on the web for another week or week and a half, I think, here as the season gets underway.
Now, Tim Myers had his little advertisement in there for make sure that people had till 11:59 last night to get their orders for Team Montreur in. We still have about 2 weeks yet. The orders are not coming in the way we want them to, so everybody out there get on to to Team Montreur link that is on our Facebook page. Dane's going to put it out there again, get advertisements out there. We've got a new version of it, a new design that my daughter worked up for us, and it's got new advertisers on the back. We've got the See Evansville. Is that what they call it? I got the shirt right
Explore
here.
Evansville.
Explore Evansville, Indiana on the back. Evansville has sent us some T-shirts here. We got some T-shirts for giveaways here, and sometime this season we'll be giving some of these away. There's an X large. I could probably wear that and advertise for them.
Probably. We got a Frisbee we could throw at somebody.
Frisbees break something.
Okay, Rex, you're on the spot. New weight classes. Name them right now without looking.
No, I can't.
You can't do it. 6?
I cut it on my phone.
13, 20, 26, 32, 38, 44, 50, 57, 65, 70. 80, no. I've lost.
I'll tell you here in about 2 seconds.
I've lost him. I thought I was going to have him down for today. And
as soon as I get to the picture of Tyrone Wilson's phone that I took a picture of, he had him up on his phone, and I took a picture
215 and 285, but where do we go from there? Pat's over there. She's just disgusted with us. She had this down the first day they announced it.
No, she didn't. She's lying to you if she did.
Well, like we said, we are going to be joined later on in the show by Coach A.J. Bradley from Muncie Central and from Mike Reiser, two of the best friends of the show that we have. We're going to talk about our upcoming broadcasts, as we will have Jay County at Columbia City on Thursday and Belmont at Wawasee on Friday.
52, 60, 72, 89, 215. 89 now, 89, that's what it was when Chris Malin was wrestled 185. 189. I'm thinking we've ever had a 189.
Yeah, no, there was 189 for a long time there in the early 2000s.
But it's not 6, Dane. It's 8.
No, you're looking at the wrong list.
Clear on the side. Let's go there.
You're on the wrong list.
Well, it's if we have 2 classes, 12 classes, 13 classes, or 14 classes.
There you go.
So we got
it's
6, 13,
175.
Yeah, 6, 13, 26, 32, 38, 44, 50, 57, 65, 75, 90, 215,
190. Not 189, 190.
190. I could imagine only having 12 classes.
Well, I think that's for some of the smaller states.
Yeah.
Places like, I don't know, Wyoming and
New Hampshire,
something
Rhode Island.
So like I said, we will have guests later on, including Pat Culp. She's going to talk to us about some of the new things that the ISWA and the Coaches Association are doing. We got a recap of the week that was in college wrestling along with the week that will be, and same thing with the girls, all here on High School Wrestling Weekly.
And we're going to talk a couple minutes about the semi-state football game coming up.
Well, yeah, of course. Don't forget that on Friday night you will not be able to watch the stream of the football game for free. It'll cost you $12. You might as well go and watch the game in person because that's also costing you $12. Or you can listen to us for free.
For free?
It'll be a good broadcast. And, of course, assuming that Adams Central pulls off the victory, we'll be there as well that Black Friday live 11 a.m. kickoff. I think, is that what it is? The ISWA released?
I have not looked at it yet, Dan.
You haven't talked to your scheduler yet?
I just wait till you tell me when we're going to be there.
That's good.
But
that's
good. 2 weeks in a row. It's going to be Dave Nathan and I, right?
It is. And it's going to be a good broadcast. And I really think that Adams Central has got a chance. Having watched the game last year, I know I wasn't there. You were doing the game. I was at Goshen for wrestling. But, you know, even something as small as Trevor Curry's kicking game. Yep. Or, you know, that one extra play that Coach Mosier has in his bag. I think they were really close last year, and everything that we've seen from them this year has been positive. I
think this team is just a little bit better than last year's team. Indy Lutheran struggled, 14-7.
Yes, I saw that against Providence.
So with that, let's end our first session. We'll be back with the weigh-ins have been over. Let's be back with first period A. We'll be back with more High School Wrestling Weekly right after this on WZBD.
When faced with the difficult task of making arrangements for your loved one, many emotions and questions arise. What would they want me to do if they were here? Where is the money coming from? How much should I spend? Do they want burial or cremation? The staff at Haggard, Hershey, and Zelt Funeral Home can help you navigate these tough questions. Make your wishes known and allow us to make sure that your wishes are carried out. Call Ryan Hershey or Eric Zelt at 260-724-7167 to schedule an appointment today.
Hi, this is Joel at Decatur Package Liquors, locally owned since 1965. I promise competitive prices and the best service in town. We offer bulk buy discounts for weddings, graduation parties, and other big celebrations. Special orders are also available and highly recommended. Don't forget about Wine Wednesday, where you get the best savings. Come on, guys, it's where your friends shop.
Decatur Package Liquors, with the best service and variety in town, now with locations in Monroe, Berne, and Markle. When you're doing new construction or remodeling and you need drywall, the name to call is Paul Baker Drywall. Paul Baker Drywall does championship caliber work and gives you free estimates. Paul uses all the latest styles for your approval, and his work is always guaranteed. Give Paul a call today at 701-4388. That's 701-4388. When it's time for drywall, use the best, Paul Baker Drywall.
Welcome back to Haggard Hershey Zelt High School Wrestling Weekly, once again hosted by the Double Eagle. Once again, we're live in the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. Nice little crowd here tonight, Dan. And in the future, and we got one of these shows where I got planned, you have these ideas you throw out. I threw this idea out. We haven't picked a date yet, but we're going to have a special night where we're going to get as many family name wrestlers here in the building whoever has the most family names, I mean, how many Bakers and how many Froats you can get here, how many Fechters you can get in here, the most of one family name here, I'm going to buy them a prize, and we're going to call it a good. But we're going to load this place up with as many families between Bakers, Froats, Fechters, some of the other names that might be around. There's only one Brewer ever wrestled, so I'm the only one that can be here. But
hey, but there's been a lot of Bradleys, though.
A lot of Bradleys. Speaking of that, we are joined on the phone by Coach A.J. Bradley of the Muncie Central Bearcats. How you doing, A.J.?
I'm doing well, and you?
We're good.
That's good. And Dane was correct. We have a lot of Bradleys, too, so is that invitation open for everybody?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You bring your brother. Tell him right now that he needs to come up here.
We haven't set the date yet, but we'll let you know what it is.
Okay.
And tell him he needs to dress appropriately. You know, every time we go to a tournament, you're always dressed so much better than he is.
Oh, well, you know.
Well, Coach, we wanted to bring you on because we wanted to talk a little bit about the boys' side of things, but also the girls' side of things. So let's start with the girls. You were at East Noble on Saturday?
Yes, we were. We had 8 of our 11 girls participating this year.
And how did that tournament go?
It ran smooth. Long day, but over 450 matches, so that's a good sign for girls wrestling. Our girls did really well. We had one girl win her weight class. We had a runner-up, 2/3. So I was very impressed and happy.
I saw that Rochester edged out Jay County and East Noble for the top team spot.
Yes.
Where did you guys end up?
We ended up as either 9th or 10th. But like I said, I was happy because we doubled our point total from last year. And it was a pretty competitive team race overall.
Yeah, I see that you had one in the finals at 116, Callie Yates. No, sorry, Courtney Thrash.
Yep, she got second. And then we had another one, like a 135. I believe it was Cadence Jones, 35 or 140. They did some block weights, so I'm not exactly sure of the weight class.
Yeah, so for some of our listeners that maybe aren't familiar with that kind of pairings, why don't you tell us a little bit about what that looks like and how that works?
Well, they're trying to make sure everybody gets at least 5 matches. And there was roughly 200 girls there, so they just weighed everybody in. And then they took like 10%, so they were trying to group everybody within 10% of what they actually weigh. So you might have a weight class from 108 to 109, and another weight class might be 115 to 117 or something like that. It's just to give everybody opportunities to wrestle to help grow this emerging sport.
See a lot of familiar names for us already. We had North Miami and Blackford at Jay County last week, and this week we've got Jay County at Columbia City. A lot of girls from those schools involved Saturday.
Oh, yes, and we wrestled somebody from each of those schools. That was the great thing about this. This is an early season tournament, and you're talking about some of the top girls in the state, so it was a great way for us to go and see what we were made of from the get-go.
And a lot of girls coming from a lot of different corners of the state. I see a lot of girls from Mishawaka, from the northern part of the state. But the nice thing is, I know Pat was talking earlier, there were 3 different events across the state this weekend for the girls.
Yeah, I know there was one in Indy at Purdue Poly. So I know that one was going on as well. There's already been like a handful of tournaments as well this year. New Pal had one earlier in the year. Alexandria had one. We're heading to Clinton Prairie. Our girls are this coming weekend. So they're starting to pick up.
And for some of those girls, especially the ones who are new to the sport, being able to get 4 or 5 matches on a Saturday is so crucial to getting better over the course of the year.
Oh, I'd agree. It's a much better format for the emerging sport and getting people involved than like the lose 2 and you're out. You know, like this gets them in the gym. It gets them watching wrestling too, like up close and personal, and keeps them invested for a lot longer time. And I think it helped. Some of our girls were a little shell-shocked, our newbies at first. We had a couple that lost their first 2, then won their last 3 because they finally got over some of those nerves. And if it was a traditional format, I don't know if they would have got over those nerves, and the day wouldn't have been as beneficial for them as it was.
So let's switch topics a little bit here to the boys' side of things. Belmont just hosted their big wrestle-offs. They did it outside Thursday, downtown in Decatur, but I wanted to pick your brain a little bit. It's something we're going to talk about later on in the show.
Okay.
How do you approach wrestle-offs? When's the ideal time in your mind to have them, and what do you try to accomplish with them when you first have them?
Ideal time, I think, is you kind of have to look at your schedule. because one, you probably need to have one before your conference, at least in my opinion, but it depends on when your conference is. If it's early in the year, some are late in their sectional. We do one earlier in the year to kind of start one off, and then we do another one right around Christmas because we're involved in a couple holiday, the ECIC and the North Montgomery holiday tournament, and we do one there, and we kind of end it there unless there was a split somewhere along the line. Then we'll do another final one, and that one's for conference and sectional because basically we have conference and the next week is sectional. So I typically have two, sometimes a third if there was splits earlier in the year. Because by the second one you kind of know who's going where and who's better, but I still leave that option open if there was a split in the matches.
Now, this may be a very coach-specific question, but a lot of discussion in the last week from different coaches that I've talked to. What do you do as far as weight, as far as how close do kids need to be to the actual weight that they are wrestling off at when it comes to the wrestle-offs? Do you weigh them in ahead of time? Do you give them a 5-pound allowance, 10-pound allowance, or how do you handle that?
Well, we do make ours weigh, and they have to be within 3 because I'm big on, keeping your weight down all the time so we can focus, on what we need to do and not focus on, like, cutting weight and losing weight. I like to keep my guys kind of around where they are. So in our wrestle-offs, you have to be within 3 of where you're challenging.
Back in the day, AJ, in our wrestling room, you had to be within a handful. And sometimes, AJ, you within a handful? Campo always, like I said, couple handfuls. Couple handfuls.
So let's pick your brain.
That was back when people could cut weight and stuff. And now with the weight management and everything else, I think it's just easier to make sure my guys stay kind of near their weights, because if you kind of balloon up and then you got to weigh in or something happen and now you're off target, and
it's a whole different sport.
Falcons,
It's a whole different sport now, AJ.
Yeah.
Okay, Coach, I'm going to pick your brain again. I want you to think back to your very first wrestle-off as a high school wrestler. Do you remember who it was against?
Yes, I do.
Tell us about it.
I was a sophomore and I was wrestling Eric McNabb. He was a returning varsity wrestler. I remember it. And I remember because I lost that one. He ended up beating me in that one. And that was the last wrestle-off I had lost. Because I was only involved in, I think 2 or 3 more. But I remember my first one. Yeah, he was a very seasoned wrestler. And let's say it didn't go too well for me that day.
Rex, do you remember your first wrestle-off?
I didn't have any wrestle-offs. It was JV freshman year. I was JV, and we didn't have anybody to wrestle off because I had 2 seniors in the weight classes above me. But my biggest wrestle-offs my junior year, the year I was state runner-up, I went to state finals and I was undefeated on paper, but I had 3 losses in the room because I had a senior that came down and wrestled me wrestle-off, and I got beat 3 times by him. We went back and forth, and finally, the last time I beat him, I think we went triple overtime to win the spot to go on to get to the state finals. So that's how tough our room was.
So, Coach, have you had your wrestle-offs yet for your team this year?
No, not yet. We adjusted some of our schedule to move some things back a little bit because our football program's been improving, so we're like, hey, in case some stuff happens, let's move some things back. So we plan on having some. I believe our first is next week, actually, because our varsity kicks off December 7th, so we have a little time. We have some JV stuff and some freshman, sophomore before that. So, but I'm looking early next week, let the kids, kind of let their weight settle in, see what they're going to go, and then have them sign up, put their name on the board.
So when it comes to your JV tournament then this Saturday, are you basically taking the guys that you know are going to be JV and your newcomers to that, since you haven't had a wrestle-off yet?
Yeah, because it's for freshmen and sophomore only, okay. And so many of ours are new guys, and some of them there's not much difference. I think some of them will benefit from this, even if they win a wrestle-off later. I'll be able to push and pull some out. So yeah, I'm sending the ones who I know, need some of this experience for sure, or won't be JV, if that makes sense.
AJ, sometimes wrestle-offs depend on how many you got in your room. What's your number in the room look like this year?
Well, we're sitting right now at 41 kids.
Holy cow.
Yeah, but I'm right now though. I'm probably the only team in the state with 40 kids that's not filling the full lineup. There's still like 1 or 2 weights that I'm trying to get somebody into though.
Yeah, but are you also still the only guy in the state who also employs your wife as an assistant coach?
Yeah, she is the girls' assistant. That is true.
I like it
she's
though.
doing more of that than I am.
41 is an awesome number. That's great for you guys.
It is. It's we have 6 heavyweights again. So our football coach is doing great with us. Like we could run 3 dual teams from like 65 and up. It's just getting some of those smaller guys. But it's great. It's nice to have that problem in the room because 41 kids could be a logistical problem, but it's a good problem.
Yeah, but, from knowing you for a long time and knowing the kind of guy you are, I bet you're loving it. Having all those kids to be able to coach, to teach them something each day, to see them walk in the room and to work with them for 2 or 2.5 hours each night, you've got to be excited for the season.
I'm not going to lie. It is nice to just, like, open the door and you see them, like, running the laps, starting to warm up. And just seeing the rooms full, shoulder to shoulder, like it's nice. When I started, there was about 15, 16. Now having 41, it does make my heart smile. I'm not going to lie.
Well, AJ, we thank you for coming on the show tonight. As always, one of our favorite guests on this program, and we look forward to seeing what the Bearcats can do this year.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Love you guys' show. Keep it up.
Now, what we will do is Dane will put out an advertisement, and we'll pick a date, and we're going to have that family night. We're going to call it Family Night Wrestling to get as many names here as we can, and let's see if we can fill this place for Jason and his crew at the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. And we always like to have this place filled and kind of make it feel like a home environment. And I'm sad the Judge and the Brights aren't here tonight, 2 weeks in a row. What are we going to do, Dane? So with that, appreciate it, AJ. We'll see you down the road, brother.
Guys.
All right, take care, brother. That's been Coach AJ Bradley of the Muncie Central Bearcats. I've been talking a bunch of Muncie South guys for a lot here. With that, we've ended our first period A. Let's send it back to studio. Steve Rouse running board for us around the commercials. Back with our next guest right after this here on High School Wrestling Weekly.
Hi, it's Jessie from Heller Nursery. We have a great selection of houseplants with some hard-to-find varieties in stock. Our garden mums are looking great as well. Stop in to see all the colors in our wide selection of pumpkins at Heller Nursery. Don't forget that fall is a great time to plant trees and shrubs. We have over 500 trees in stock, including fruit trees. Heller Nursery is located outside of Decatur, just off Highway 224. Just follow the signs. Heller Nursery, open 7 days a week.
At Jackson Associates Financial Services in Portland, we are committed to maintaining the highest standards of integrity and professionalism in our relationship with you, our client. We endeavor to know and understand your financial situation and provide you with only the highest quality information, services, and products to help you reach your goals. Give Troy a call for the latest rates on CDs and learn about the advantages in today's financial climate to invest in your hard-earned dollar. That's Jackson Associates in Portland. Brad Weber proudly supports the WZBD Wrestling Coaches Show. He also supports youth football in Adams County as a board member of the Decatur Football League and president of Belmont Cadet Football, giving our youth the chance to learn the great game of football. Some of the best football players in our area have also been fantastic wrestlers. That's why famous coaches like Joe Gibbs and John Madden always wanted wrestlers on their team. Find out more about youth football opportunities by giving Brad a call at 452-7045 or email bw@bradweberlaw.com.
High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted by the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill, and we're joined by our next guest, in-person guest, Pat Culp. And Pat, you and Mary had did you guys have a meeting here? Is that what brings you to town? So you just happened to be a good guest for us?
No, I wasn't in town. I just came to see you guys.
She just came to see us.
That makes me even prouder.
So we are joined by Pat Culp tonight, and she is going to talk to us about all the different things that she's got her hands in. And all of the different tournaments that are coming up. She's actually just here to tell us so that we can fill out our broadcast schedule. Because nobody else seems to know anything, but when I ask Pat, I can count on it as a definitive answer. So let's start. Where were you yesterday? What tournament did you have yesterday? What tournament were you at today?
I did not have a tournament, but I oversee all of them.
Okay.
So I was online and basically helping East Noble.
Do you have this big, gigantic office with
No.
all these screens and
I have
big
3
computers at home?
screens. I have 3
The
screens.
master control room.
It reminds me a little bit of
Yeah.
the Guerrilla Radio studio as when Joe pulls it all off. Well, we're getting started with the high school boys season here, of course, in the next week, and the girls season is already underway. We'll be up at Columbia City. I assume we'll see you there on Thursday. Don't forget that we'll have the Jay County and Columbia City dual meet on Thursday with the girls, and then on Friday we'll have Belmont at Wawasee for our boys season opener. Our first tournament that we'll do is the NE8 duels, and you'll be overseeing that, I assume, at Huntington North.
Yeah, I will be, but that won't be on track.
That will not be on track.
Right.
Oh, so you really have to listen. That's
man.
We always get excited when people have to pay for the stream because then people listen to us even more. When it's not on track wrestling, you can't just follow it along. You got to listen to us.
You have to listen.
The only problem is that I follow along on track during the
He
broadcast.
has no
and it
idea
helps.
what's going on.
I look around like, well, who's wrestling who now?
So for the NE8 duels at Huntington North, second weekend of December, that'll be 2 rounds on Friday night and 5 rounds on Friday. Is that correct?
The duels are at New Haven.
The duels are at New Haven. That's right. Now, see, I can't keep it straight. One time we were supposed to do a volleyball match.
That was my worst ever.
NHHN. They get even worse.
Yeah.
We were supposed to do a volleyball match, and I'm sitting at the table, and I got all my stuff out. I got my notes. I hadn't done many broadcasts up to that point. I probably had never done a volleyball broadcast.
Back the train up. Where were we supposed to be?
We were supposed to be at Belmont.
And
I
then,
was sitting
and
at
then it
Belmont.
got canceled. No, we were not.
We were supposed to be at AC or South Adams or
Yeah,
something.
and it got canceled.
So I tell Rex, hey, we're going to pick up the Belmont DeKalb volleyball match. It's going to be great. We'll get it done.
Yeah.
I text him, hey, this thing's starting in like 15 minutes. Where are you? He was at DeKalb.
Somewhere in my head, I got the idea that it was at DeKalb. I drove to DeKalb. I get up there, and there's nobody there, and I was like, uh-oh. I text Dane, and it's like, I'm on my way home from DeKalb. And he goes, what are you doing there? I was covering DeKalb Belmont, but he didn't tell me where it was at. I just assumed. So
It's good. It's good stuff, though. We wanted to bring you on tonight to talk about, of course, Team State, which is really important for everybody across the state, but you also have a new tournament that you wanted to talk about this year.
Yeah, we have boys JV state that is new. Mr. Fulkin said that we can go ahead and get it done. He wanted it done before sectionals. So we have 4 regionals, and those are on the 13th of January. And those regionals are Jimtown, New Haven, Clinton Prairie, and Jennings County. And then on the 20th will be the state event, and that is Ben Davis.
And those are Saturday events?
Those are Saturday events.
So, for our casual listeners, you talk about talking to Robert Falcon. So you're doing this entirely under the umbrella of the ISWA. This isn't a Sunday-type club tournament.
No.
So what are the advantages in your mind of sticking to that ISWA umbrella and a Saturday?
Because when you think about, we were just talking to, 41 kids in the room. They're not all going to break that lineup for the varsity. So they have to have something. And when you think about kids coming out of middle school, with middle school, you have middle school conference. Some of them have middle school counties, and then we have a middle school state. So when they get to high school and they can't break that lineup, they really have nothing.
put that a little bit closer to your mouth. There you
Well,
go.
we've talked on this show the last couple of years about what seems, and we just talked about this in basketball, unfortunately, with the local team. You get to that point where you get a junior or a senior or even a sophomore, especially in wrestling, and they have an idea of whether they're good or whether they're varsity or whether they're JV. And as soon as they lose that first wrestle off, they're off the team.
That's right.
And that's not just a Belmont problem or an Adams Central problem, or that's a problem throughout the state, and maybe not even a wrestling problem. Trying to find ways for kids to still be able to compete and have something to strive for, especially talking to Coach Bradley about having 2 wrestle-offs and you're done. If you've lost that second wrestle-off at Christmas, what's the motivation for staying on the team when, in all honesty, and as desperate as some coaches are, you could quit the team come back in November the next year and try to win your spot again.
Yeah, and if you remember, Tim Myers had a great idea last year. He started the JV conference for Northeast 8, and how that has affected so many kids has been unbelievable. So just think about how this is going to help kids get to that next level.
So tell us more about the actual JV state finals. That'll be January 20th, which for most of us in our area, that's the weekend of conference.
Right.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So where's that going to be held?
Ben Davis.
It's going to be at Ben Davis.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a one-day tournament.
Correct.
And you are hoping to bring in 16 kids per weight?
Yes, it will be 16 because we'll take the top 4 from each of the regionals, and they're allowed to enter 2 kids per weight.
So for any coaches listening, what's the process going to be for signing up for that event? When's the deadline and that kind of stuff?
Okay. We don't have the deadline or anything set up yet, but everything will be on Track Wrestling, and they will be sent out logins just like they do on everything else.
Now, Pat, when we were talking to Gary, Iron Bear Gary, when he was there, he talked about finding people that would do the girls' level events. Did you have trouble getting people to sign up to take those JV regionals and stuff, or would people jump up pretty readily and take on hosting those tournaments for you?
We reached out. It took us a while to find 16 girls regionals, and then we started on the boys, but we have everything down.
Yeah.
I mean, everything down. It took us a while, but with both of us working on it, making phone calls, and who had conferences those weekends or basketball games.
I think he told us that the first 14 came in right away, and the
right
last 2
away.
you really struggled.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So let's switch gears a little bit, and we'll talk about this later on in the show too. Tell us a little bit about Team State. We've talked about it in previous episodes of the show so far this year, but tell us where the 4 sites are to start.
We have Rochester for 1A, 2A will be at Jay County, 3A will be at Franklin, and then 4A will be at Brownsburg.
And we were talking over our meals about future years, future dates. Of course, one of the biggest problems that we've had in the 10 years that we've, 11 years, 12 years?
It's been a long time.
Of course, one of the first problems that we had was nailing down a date. And
right.
It feels like that date is set now, and
yes.
not to change anytime soon.
Correct.
Of course, as the calendar rolls, sometimes it's January 3rd, sometimes it's January 8th.
Yeah.
But talk to us a little bit about what the goals are for locations, 1 roof, or 4 sites, 2 sites, 3 sites. What does the Coaches Association think about that, and who's the one actually making those decisions?
I don't know how the Coaches Association feels about it, but normally as we start talking every year, I reach out. I usually work directly with Greg Ratliff, and J.D. Mensch is involved. So we're always looking for the locations to work. But as I was telling you earlier, it was so exciting those few years that we had it at the Coliseum under all one roof. And the atmosphere, it was beyond excitement. And I know Greg feels this way too. We would love to see it under one roof again. It's just finding a location in which we could do that is centralized.
Do you think we'll ever get back to that again?
I think it's a possibility. There is something Greg and I are looking into now, but I don't know. It all depends.
And we've talked before on this show in previous years. People forget that the Coaches Association is, in the end, liable for everything that happens at the Team State when it comes to the financials
yes.
and the profit and the loss.
Yes.
And people, how could you lose money? But, some of these places, once you reserve it, you got to pay.
That's correct.
Whether you host the event or not.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is look at a situation like COVID where if something like that happens again and all of a sudden you're on the
on the hook
for $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, the Coaches Association doesn't have that much liquidity to be able to take care of that.
And that's what it all comes down to. I mean, whether we get under one roof again or not, it's going to come down to finances. Yeah.
I guess maybe if you could put all 4 classes in one building, then your overhead should be 1/4 of what it would be if you get 4 places.
Except that right now we're using high schools and high school ADs who aren't charging the Coaches Association much of anything.
Right.
That's the difference. So while we're on the topic of Team State, why don't we talk about different coaches and teams who are interested or already involved? What's the timeline look like? What should a coach who's going to Team State for the first time expect to hear from you? When? What are they going to need to turn over? Those types of things.
Yep. Okay, so the ADs will all hear from J.D. Minch, and it'll lay out all of what they're responsible for. And then I usually get in touch with all of the ADs and tell them when I'm coming in, when we're going to be setting up, when we're going to be testing, streaming, and everything else. The coaches actually will be hearing directly from J.D. Minch again and Greg Ratliff. And Greg's awesome about sending out all the teams, all the information they need, when they have the rosters in, those type of things. So with the three of us, we just kind of, buddy up and decide who's going to do what and who's going to do those notifications.
So, Pat, this is not on Dane's list of questions, but it just kind of came up to me. How did you get kind of drugged into track wrestling? Did you just fall out of bed one day and landed in track wrestling and that happened? Or how did you just get to the point where you were so involved in track?
But it's not really track. It's just about wrestling.
Yeah.
Well, because I had 3 kids wrestling,
okay.
And I had one of the first girls with my daughter. And I remember walking into the pairing room. It was at Wayne High School. Remember that big event they used to have? So I walked in there and I said, "Do you need some help?" And then the rest is history. So I just...
That's what you get for volunteering to help.
Yeah, and what did I tell you earlier? Wrestling's like the song Hotel California.
That's right. You can't get out.
That's right. You can check in, but you can never check out. Yeah.
But I see how you did it, because John Kins just walked over and say hi, and the next thing you know, he's hooked in.
He's doing a broadcast.
I told him.
Yeah.
So talking about Team State and roping that into our show, on the December 17th show, I believe, we are going to be announcing the last teams in, because right now we're still missing a team or two in each of the 4 weight classes. And then live from Rex's basement, we are going to have the tournament reveal. And we were going to do the show on January 2nd, but we have A, broadcast, and B, Pat has a lot of work to do depending on who wrestles who. And if we wait till Wednesday, and she's got girls regional on Friday and Team State on Saturday, at some point you got to say enough's enough. And, we used to announce those things prior to the Al Smith, Mater Dei, North Montgomery. And there was a lot of feedback from coaches and from fans and from everybody saying you need to take all of those results into consideration if you're going to seed it correctly. The problem is there's only so many hours in between those results being on track and being able to make those adjustments. So it's difficult.
I already have it on track, and all the teams that are already on there, it's all listed, so I just have to plug it in.
So you can't hack in there early, can you, before our show? Okay, good.
Nope.
That's what we want to know.
Nope.
Is Pat coming back for another segment?
She is.
So with that, let's send it back to Stuart for a round of commercials. Back with more conversation with Pat Culp right after this here on WZBD.
Cross Creek Golf Club in Decatur has the perfect Christmas gift for the entire family. This year, give the gift of golf. Reduced rates for next season are now available. Student memberships, singles, couples, family, and seniors are all options on the 27-hole beautiful Cross Creek Golf Course. Gift certificates from Cross Creek make great stocking stuffers. New merchandise, including sweaters and outerwear, are also great gift ideas. Stop in soon for the best selection. Cross Creek Golf Club in Decatur.
DDD Maintenance and Repair, owned and operated by Shane Reynolds, has your local professionals for heavy-duty truck and diesel engine repair. DDD Maintenance and Repair also offers full-service sand and glass blasting for your surface restoration projects. Whether it's getting your heavy-duty truck and diesel engine running like new or sandblasting your project to look like new, we have a blast renewing the past. Give Shane and the guys a call at 260-223-5442. That's DDD Maintenance and Repair.
When faced with the difficult task of making arrangements for your loved one, many emotions and questions arise. What would they want me to do if they were here? Where is the money coming from? How much should I spend? Do they want burial or cremation? The staff at Haggard, Hershey, and Zelt Funeral Home can help you navigate these tough questions. Make your wishes known and allow us to make sure that your wishes are carried out. Call Ryan Hershey or Eric Zelt at 260-724-7167 to schedule an appointment today.
Does your smile need work? Maybe it's time for a cleaning and exam. Visit Laura Kugelhahn, DDS, and her knowledgeable, caring staff at Complete Smiles on North Main Street in Bluffton. Dr. Kugelhahn would love to help you maintain your dental health or transform your smile. Whatever your needs might be, Complete Smiles is there to help you. Dr. Kugelhahn is currently accepting new patients. Call 824-3100 to schedule an appointment.
Welcome back once again to the Haggard Hershey Zelt High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted by the Double Eagle. Once again at the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. And Pat, we always talk about the great food at the Double Eagle. You've never been here before. What did you sample tonight for your meal?
Oh, I tried the Italian hoagie. It was awesome. I couldn't eat the whole thing. And then those tater tots are amazing.
The tots.
Yeah.
Gotta have the tots.
Yeah.
And then I turned on to the special secret.
Yeah, that
the
was
house
good.
salsa. The house salsa with the sour cream and the salsa, dipping your tots in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a go-to.
It was good.
That's my lunch for tomorrow. So one thing that I got a bunch of questions written down to ask you for this segment. But the first one I want to ask you is about the big paycheck that J.D. Minch and Greg Ratliff receive for helping Team State.
No, it didn't happen.
It doesn't happen. I do hope that people understand when they talk about Team State that all of it is volunteer.
Right. Absolutely.
And, trying to take all of these teams and make the tournament that it is and to organize it the best that they can. It's not going to please everybody, but there's a lot of people trying really, really hard to make it better year after year.
Right, and you need to realize that the work, not only that the Coaches Association puts into this, an organizing team, which you're a big part of, getting all those teams together, but also 4 locations, getting equipment to each location, setting up streaming at each location. I mean, it's a lot of work, and then finding advanced people that can handle all of that.
So walk us through that process. Talk about the 2025 Team State Finals. When will you start working on hosts, details, rule changes, all of those things?
Okay, that will start immediately after 2024.
Right after the state finals?
Yep.
After the individual state finals?
Yep, Greg and I get on it right away. We usually have our locations by summer.
And what kind of conversations have to be had? Are those with school principals, with school boards, superintendents, athletic directors? Who's usually the go-to person for those types of things?
Sometimes a lot of the coaches will reach out to us and say, hey, we would love to host, 1A, 2A, 3A, whatever. They'll reach out to us. And then I usually will do a walkthrough through the venue to see if it's even capable of having that. And then if it's a big venue, Greg and I usually walk through together. But we put a lot of time and effort into finding the right one.
So what are your criteria then for if you have 3 schools from 1A that want to host? What distinguishes one as being more worthy than the other?
For 3A?
For any of them.
Okay, well, you have to remember 3A and 4A, they just need formats. The best thing is to get the spectators up off of the floor. It's a little more difficult for 1A and 2A because we have 6 mats. So, and again, keeping people up off of the floor, and can they get 6 mats in one location, or can they get 2, which is for the consi rounds, in a real close location. So that's what.
So once the locations are set, when does the actual physical on-site preparation start for getting ready for one of those weekends?
So it would be the night before. We can't do it normally until after school's out, so it's the night before.
Because that darn sport with the orange ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're usually the ones who cause all kinds of problems.
Yeah, they caused us a problem for our first girls match that we had on the radio.
So let's talk about Rochester.
Yeah.
In January. You will have to have 6 mats presumably Rochester won't be able to provide all 6 of them. You'll have to bring in some from other schools?
Yeah, well, that's their responsibility to do that when they know what we want. But with Rochester, it's a little bit different because they are also going to host girls semi-state the night before.
And we'll be there.
Yep.
WZBD will be there.
Yep. So we will actually set up for that on Thursday after school. And then Friday, they'll have their formats down. And then while that's going on, they're going to set up the other gym for the extra 2 mats for Saturday.
Now, one thing that I don't think people will appreciate, one of your biggest jobs as an athletic director is signing contracts and hiring officials and making those payments.
Correct.
Does the Coaches Association do that for the team state events?
Yes.
Or is it the host?
No. So for the Coaches Association, for the duels, they actually get all the officials. They have a head official that they work with to do that. And then with the girls, we also have a head official that we work with who assigns all the girls officials.
And that's a lot of extra work. I don't know if people realize just how much work that is. There's a lot. There's a lot of paperwork, and
right.
when it comes to accounting and all of those types of things.
Right.
Who else helps you through that process when it comes to the Coaches Association?
As far as the duels, it's really JD and Greg.
And I asked that specifically because I knew
we're roping you in
because I knew the answer because I wanted to make sure that people understood that there's not. The Coaches Association is not a giant organization with 10 or 12 full-time employees like the IHSAA.
There's not a lot of moving pieces to it.
No,
right.
no.
And they work in committees, basically, the Coaches Association, like a committee for the duels, a committee for the middle school, committee, different committees. Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
She threw that in there because it has meaning now, doesn't it, Dave?
Hey, speaking of the Hall of Fame, I noticed that one of my favorite people in the world of wrestling, Jean Whetstone, is going in to the Hall of Fame. Why don't you say a little bit about her before our segment ends here?
I have known Jean probably 25 years, and she is amazing. She actually lives up in the Mishawaka, South Bend area. She's handles lots of events. National events, club events, you name it, Jean's there. So she did finally retire this past year from national events, so she's on emeritus status. But she would help anybody. She's
Rex,
amazing.
I've been lucky enough to sit in the last 5 or 6 Al Smith seating meetings with Coach Gunsett and with Coach Myers. And there's a lot of egos clashing.
Really? 32 wrestling coaches in one place? That's a lot of ego anyways.
And those 32, with those 32 teams involved, sometimes not all 32 teams show up. But when Jean Whetstone speaks, everyone stops.
Yes.
And she has no hesitancy to say, hey, Brad Harper, stop talking right now. Go back 3 words and let me write this down.
That's a guy who's sitting in the corner at the Olympics, and she doesn't care.
No, she doesn't care one bit. And Mishawaka runs smoothly. It feels like year after year it gets even better and on a better time schedule from what it was maybe 20, 25 years ago. But she's had her hand in all of it, and well deserving of that honor.
Well, one of the girls' regionals is going to be held at Mishawaka the second day when they're not using that gym. So Jean's going to be running 2 events at once. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yep.
So once again, Pat, we appreciate you coming down. Hope you enjoyed your meal, and feel free to come anytime, and you can be our guest here. And I hope you enjoyed the show in person.
Yep. Thank you very much. I love being here.
That has been our second period, actually second period A. With that, let's send it back to studio for a round of commercials. Back with more High School Wrestling Weekly on WZBD right after this.
Hi, it's Jessie from Heller Nursery. We have a great selection of houseplants with some hard-to-find varieties in stock. Our garden mums are looking great as well. Stop in to see all the colors in our wide selection of pumpkins at Heller Nursery. Don't forget that fall is a great time to plant trees and shrubs. We have over 500 trees in stock, including fruit trees. Heller Nursery is located outside of Decatur, just off Highway 224. Just follow the signs. Heller Nursery, open 7 days a week.
Nobody handles screen printing and apparel like Team Mantra Wear in Bluffton, providing high-quality and creative apparel for South Adams football, Belmont wrestling, and many others in our area. Team Mantra takes all the work coaches and volunteers used to do, taking orders and collecting money, and does that for them. Set up an online store and let the local experts at Team Mantra take care of the rest. From custom designs to a wide array of apparel and gear, Team Mantra is your home for all of your team apparel needs. Visit the brand new location for Team Mantra Wear on Main Street in Bluffton or visit them online at teammantraware.com today.
Welcome back once again to the Hager Hershey-Zelt High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted at the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. Once again, great food here tonight. Dane, what'd you go with tonight? You went the same thing 2 weeks in a row.
I had the turkey melt and the tater tots.
Held the onions, I know.
Held the onions, that's right.
And I went with wings. Wings on Sunday night are 75 cents, and they're fat wings. They're not them little scrawny little pigeon wings you get like at B-dubs. You know, it's these are some big meaty wings here tonight at the Double Eagle.
So let's review back to that last segment and just remind everybody that 4 different team state sites hosting 40 different teams from across the state, and she just named off basically 3 people who do the entire thing. It's incredible how much goes into that, and it's also incredible to me sometimes how easily people complain about this little tidbit or that. And
you mean like we complain because we're trying to figure out where we're going to broadcast from 2 sites from?
And I just don't think people realize that, you know what, if the Coaches Association could have just not done it, and we just wouldn't have it. And I don't know what a season would look like, at least for us here in our corner of the woods. I don't know what a season would look like without it.
Now, I kind of forgot. How many seasons did we actually miss a team state when we went from the ISWA hosting it before the Coaches Association picked up?
Well, it depends on your definition of we. Indiana wrestling, none. Belmont wrestling, 2. Okay. Belmont missed out on the very first 2 events and has been invited back ever since. Adams Central has been invited to all of them. I think this is year 12 or 11 or something like that.
The proverbial we was WZBD because that's how I was counting. Yes. I was on the way to Muncie last week for a state finals for volleyball. I'm thinking, how many state finals have I done? And I was like 29. I think it's 29. I was like, wait a minute. Team state and regular state, I've done 20 years worth. So that's 40 wrestling state tournaments right there.
Yeah, the very first 2 were down at Westfield. I remember going. I have a picture with my daughter who wouldn't have been more than 1 or 2 years old.
Wasn't the first one at Ball State in a field house?
No, that was the first one that Belmont got invited to.
Oh, okay.
There were those 2 years before that when they were at Westfield, which were great tournaments, but it was just kind of we're going to try and make this work type deal. South Adams actually got invited to either the first and the second one. I remember when Coach Myers was there. But, yeah, then it went to Muncie, and then boom, with Coach McCormick involved, it went to the Coliseum, and then we've gone from there. But back to my original point, I just don't know what wrestling season would look like if we just didn't have it at all.
Yeah.
If people wouldn't have stepped up and said, this needs to happen, the dual meet has importance, if they would have just let it die and we would have just moved forward. I don't know. I don't know. It's just so integral, at least from the programs in our area, when it comes to NE8 wrestling and ACAC wrestling. Team state is such a big part of things.
Well, I don't think it would ever allow itself to die because of the passion that the people have for it. Because, when you go and wrestle at an individual state, there's only, 14 weight classes with 28 guys going to wrestle for state finals. But that team state brings everybody into it, and that's the passion that has really driven people, to come out. And when they had it a couple of times at the Coliseum, that place was packed when you had 4As, all 3. It was 4 then. It was only 3 at the time, wasn't it? I think it was 3. They didn't have 4 classes.
I don't remember if the first year with 4 classes was still at the Coliseum or not. But you think about the importance of the 14-weight duel between 2 high schools. And I think if you get rid of that team state and you don't have it, there are just teams whose whole program changes. Coach Curry's talked about it a ton. He has got guys out, and he uses team state as his recruiting tool. You will help us win a team state title. You will help us finish in the top 4. We saw it last year. You didn't. I saw it when I was at Franklin. But, some of those lightweights that he had last year, their entire high school wrestling career, at least the season that they had, revolved around them not getting pinned at team state. We are going to train you. We are going to work with you. We are going to support you. And you save us 1 team point, And it made such a big difference last year. Adams Central made the finals because of those boys. Not, to be real fair, Adams Central didn't make Team State because of Trevor Curry and because of Keegan Bloom. Because those guys got neutralized by the other teams being able to make lineup moves. It was those kids who came in and were 5 and 15 who other team looked across the mat and said, oh, that's 6 points with him. They lined him up when they sat in the weigh-ins. But they did what they needed to do and saved those team points and got Adams Central into the finals.
Now, what does our broadcast schedule look like this year? We're going to split up. You're going to do some matches from Rochester?
Well, I don't know. We may end up utilizing the YouTube side of things and just try to keep two sides devoted. It'll depend a little bit on the schedule and the seating. Last year it was nice because I believe at one point South Adams was wrestling when Adams Central and Belmont were not. And so it made sense for us to go there, but it's there's a lot of variables going there and trying to figure it all out.
I know that it was quite an event when I think Adams Central was wrestling at the time, and everybody's like, we need to get back. This Belmont Western match is coming up. And, oh, my goodness, they steamrolled Belmont and pinned everybody like the first 7 weight classes. And I said, we hurried to get back for this. It was one of the sad days in Belmont broadcast history as Western blew through them like Grant took Richmond.
But the nice thing now is with the YouTube and with on air, we're able to split those two and should be able to provide more coverage. And we'll do the best that we can. Hopefully Rochester sets us up. I don't know. I guess we should have asked Pat, if we're going to be in 2 gyms or if we're going to be in 1. That was the hard part last year.
Well, you usually pull some favors.
Thankfully, last year we had Josh Gaskell joined us, but we had both of our wives there. And it was okay, as soon as this match is over, we're going to unplug this cord. And then we want to lift everything that we have. We just kind of want to move it over there.
I've done that many times.
And then we need to plug that back in. We need to hope that everything turns back on. And then while we're doing that, let's go ahead and pick a spot where we can, at the end of that match, we can move the chairs to the other side of the table and do this. And then at one point, we were doing both dual meets at the same time. And we were sitting like this, and we were looking around. It's not exactly the best.
It's not the crow's nest like from Jay County?
No, it's not quite like the crow's nest from Jay County. They didn't put you in the crow's nest, though, last week, did they?
I told them I didn't want to be up there. I want to be close to the action. And as it was not as organized as we'd like it to, being right close to the action, walk up, who's this girl? Oh, need to write her name down. Oh, who's this girl? I mean, if I was in a crow's nest, we'd have had no idea who was wrestling who.
Hey, did you watch any college wrestling this weekend?
I did not.
It's just getting started. We saw Purdue and IU both in action this week, and the biggest takeaway from me is this Joey Blaze kid. I mean, if he can tech fall Ike Rubel, you and I know he's good, but I'm not sure everybody else in the world gauges people by that. But Joey Blaze from Purdue, true freshman, beat Ed Scott from NC State this weekend. He was ranked 5th in the nation. But unfortunately for Purdue, that was their only win in that dual meet against NC State.
Well, I do watch a lot of YouTube and saw where there's a high school senior that took out Alex Ramos. Ramos was ranked number 1 in the nation. He beat him in a tournament. High school junior, I think.
He also got beat by the kid from NC State yesterday. That was, like I said, Blaze was the only win for Purdue in that duel. IU wrestled Ryder and won 27-15. They head to Penn next week. And then, of course, after we get past Thanksgiving, then those kind of duels really, really take off, and the college wrestling season really gets started.
Poor Ramos. You pin Spencer Lee, and they think you're supposed to pin everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Purdue wrestles University of Indianapolis next week, and I think Northern Illinois also in their tournament next weekend.
Well, what else you got in store for us here, Mr. Fuelling?
Well, when we come back from this break, we are going to talk with our buddy on the rise, Mike Reiser. He's going to tell us a little bit about the first big boys wrestling tournaments that are coming up here next weekend.
With that, let's send it back to the studio for a round of commercials with Steve Rouse on the board for us. Back with more high school wrestling here on WZBD.
Bowers Paint Studio on West Monroe Street in Decatur is hands down the best auto body repair shop in the Midwest. That's why your friends and neighbors give Bowers Paint Studio a 5-star rating on Facebook. Your family ride get dinged in an accident? Take it to Bowers for a free estimate. Need a custom paint job for your collectible car or motorcycle? Bowers Paint Studio is the place to go. Nate works with all the insurance companies and can help you get a loaner. That's Bowers Paint Studio on West Monroe Street in Decatur.
The staff at Haggard, Hershey, and Zelt Funeral Home is honored to serve the community we love and live in. Locally owned and operated by Ryan Hershey and Eric Zelt, we understand that each family we serve and each life lived tells a unique story. Our goal is to offer comfort, care, and dignity to all who entrust their loved ones to our care. We are proud to call Adams County our home and look forward to serving you for generations to come.
Pat Septon in there again. Should have.
That's okay. He's well worth it.
It's the Haggard Hershey Zelt High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted by Double Eagle. Once again, we're live at Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill, and now we're joined by the rankings guru, Mr. Mike Reiser. Mike, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Excited for another great season of high school wrestling. How are you guys?
We're doing great. We've had a great show so far. We talked to Pat Culp about some of the things that the Coaches Association, ISWA, is doing, a JV state tournament that's starting here in January, and just giving more opportunity for guys to get some mat time and to gain some experience.
That's really cool, man. With all the other tournaments, that's going to be really exciting because there's so many guys that would start, or even women or females that would start on a lot of lineups that are going to have an opportunity to show their skills there.
So we wanted to bring you on tonight to talk about the first round of tournaments this weekend. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you know about what tournaments there are this upcoming Saturday for the boys?
Yeah, this is always like a kind of good kickoff weekend. You have John Hurley. I think Brownsburg's B team goes there. Eastern Hancock, Arsenal Tech, Kokomo, Perry Meridian, Polytech. So you'll have Silas Foster there. Richmond, Southport, and I believe Warren Central's B team also. But always a good one early on. Eastern Hancock has some really good guys. Kokomo has some talented guys. So that's always one, rankings-wise. You're going to see where some guys are at. And I think Silas Foster had a really good match there a couple years ago with Kyra Lavelle. So I think that's a good one. Tommy Gibb wrestled Kyra Lavelle last year also. Tommy Gibb in the rankings this year for Brownsburg. Brownsburg's B team is going to be really, really good also.
So, Mike, tell us a little bit about how you handle tournaments where a B team is inserted. How does that throw a wrench in your idea of who's wrestled who's beaten who, and what kind of names you have to keep track of?
Yeah, I think it's kind of, we've done a really good job as a state of making some really tough competition. So a guy like Tommy Gibb for Brownsburg, who probably in 90% of the state, he would make their lineup. He's really talented. He beat Landon Hawkins this past summer. He's just in an area where, I think even now, I think he's going to have to kind of gain some weight. But you add him to the watch list, and there's times those guys do a really good job. Derek and Kyle do a good job of getting those guys matches. So I know a couple of years ago, there was a kid named, I believe David Clayton. He pinned Colton Cummings, who was a two-time champ. David was at Perry Meridian. It's just one of those things like the top 1% program. And obviously Belmont's had some guys probably behind some guys over the years that have jump in and be really good.
So let's dive a little bit deeper into your role as rankings coordinator on the individual side. I don't know if everybody really appreciates or understands just how much data you have to deal with and how many names you have to deal with. Why don't you walk us through the very basics of the process of how you take results, presumably that you get from track wrestling, probably some emails, some text, direct phone calls, but how do you organize all of that and put out a consistent set of rankings every week throughout the season?
It's like that meme from Always Sunny with a lot of like yarn and memes. No, you look at summer results. There's a lot of stuff. IndianaMat is a big one for preseason rankings, where you're going to get a lot of guys that's done really well. The preseason open, where those guys are going to hit, and then you kind of try to find like different people that are wrestling a lot of the same people. Like Joe always makes the comment when we do the Gorilla Radios that there's a guy, Drake. He wrestled at Homestead. Drake Rhodes. Drake Rhodes had 25 notable results, and he wrestled a lot of the top guys. So he was kind of a guy where I was like, okay, like where is he at with those guys? And you find guys like that are really, really tough, and you just kind of go from there. Like I think the top 7 to 8 are usually pretty easy. Like those guys don't lose a lot. If they lose, it's pretty shocking. You're not seeing a lot of guys in the top 8 in the state that have double-digit losses a lot of the times. So if that like 10 through 20, probably 10 through 30 on the watch list, that's really, really difficult because those guys are all so close.
So give people an idea, just how long is your watch list for, say, one of the truly deep weight classes like 26 or 38?
Yeah. Those can get up to about 40 deep, give or take. As it goes through the season, because you want to have the guys that are having notable results, and then you can kind of get a good gauge of how deep the watch list is if you have a profile at those weights. Because usually Joe's pretty good at getting the profile started really, really quick. And like notable wins, close wins, bumping up. I think we've done a good job of I don't want to say encouraging people to chase good matches, but some of the smaller schools you might not get to see another really good wrestler through the season. So those bump ups, that kind of shows us a willingness that those guys are not afraid to wrestle tough people. I think that's huge. But those, I think you have access to it. You see how, and I try to keep those in order. So we could probably rank a weight like 26. 120 is like a catch weight where you're getting 6s, 13s. Some 20s stay at 20. Or that weight class could probably be, during the season 40 deep, and we could probably rank 40 there.
So I'm trying to think of what else. What else do people need to know about the start of the season and when they can consume those rankings? Of course, we encourage people at the beginning of the show to purchase a preseason mag. If people are new to following high school wrestling, maybe because they have a freshman or something on the team, where should they go to get that information? And then what's the best way to communicate with you as the ranker to make sure that they're as accurate as possible?
Obviously, like you said, the magazine early on, they've done a great job with that. Like the pictures and the articles, I think have been amazing. And then they'll have, they do like the Gorilla or the Silverback membership now, where you get them a little earlier. But a couple of days after that, they'll be released. They've done a really good job of getting the semi-state rankings out. I know East Chicago's up. I think all of them are up now. We have a new rankings coordinator for the youth rankings, so he just put his top 25 middle schoolers up and just kind of glancing at that. It's really, really good. But email, my email is on the site, direct message on the site. Basically, I answer any kind of social media. If you're taking the time to reach out, it might be something that, hey, I'll make a note of it. If, you're like, hey, my name's Dane. I wrestle here, so-and-so, so-and-so. We'll keep in contact. Just keep me in and post it with notable results. Semi-state or better, guys on the rankings. I think those are always the things. I always try to be very open to communication, because I think it is can be nerve-wracking. I don't want to reach out. What if I say something that is dumb? But at the end of the day, I think it's one of those things. I really want people to get recognition. I went out to the girls' meet on Saturday. It was really cool at Highland. It was huge. Got to see a lot of coaches, which is always really cool. Some coaches in new places. Some of the girls, I think, that are right on the brink of rankings that wrestled there are really good. You can kind of see the talent level there too.
So, Mike, typically when you're in Indianapolis for the state finals, people know where to hunt you down on the place you usually hang out. What are you going to do this year in Evansville when everybody doesn't know your new haunting spots down there in Evansville? You're going to have to make yourself known on social media where you're hanging out so they can get to you and kind of bump you for rankings for next year.
I was literally just there 2 weeks ago, and man, it's a hike. It's not the most fun drive, but we were just there for softball, and I'm gonna hit up my Mater Day guys, try to get some of my Castle guys, ask them where the best spots to go are. It seems like it's all pretty close, so.
Well,
I'm excited. Dane's got all the rooms all booked out. He said.
Yeah, I got a spot for you.
Yeah, and we've got the City Council of Evansville has come on board to become one of our sponsors for this season. They sent us a box of swag to hand out to people, and they've really come on board. And I saw Commissioner Falcons down at volleyball, and I said, we complained about it at first, but we got to the point where we realized it was reality, so you might as well embrace it, and we have. And there's people that kind of grumble a little bit, but like Dane says, it's going to be different. It's going to be new. It's going to be a new experience, and we might as well just make the best of it.
I've never been to the Evansville semi-state, but they say they do a really good job. I know, like Triple B talking with Dustin, he's always been really impressed with it. I know moving from Maryville to East Chicago, there was a lot of people that for semi-state that were kind of like, oh man, like this is stupid. Like we've always been here, and change is always tough. But East Chicago's done a good job. I'm sure Evansville's going to do a good job. It'll just start rotating. Next year we'll have it in Fort Wayne, and then just kind of kick it around.
And then the next year it'll be at Calumet?
Yeah, that'd be awesome, except they don't have really good parking. I love Calumet, but the parking situation's tough.
Wrestlebacks behind the wall.
Yeah, you guys can get some good region food, man, a real melting pot, anything you want.
So last question for you before our segment ends here. What does a typical weekend look like for On the Rise? When you've got a full slate of track wrestling tournaments and the results start going final, what does that look like for you?
Well, Sundays we practice. My daughters practice, so I get them back. I just actually got home a little bit ago. And I sit down and I kind of comb through there. I'll probably have about 20 emails from different people just, telling me where I was wrong and how their guys are way better than the guys I had ranked ahead of them. Some personal message on IndianaMat. And then we just kind of move the spreadsheet around. Really, we've kind of built this network up, and I'm sure it's the same with the team side, where you got a lot of really good people that reach out and help you out. So digging through results is always tough. It really gets tough around conference time. I feel like at conference time, that's when you're getting all these guys trading all these losses, where wrestler A beats B and B beats C and C beats A, and then you got to kind of figure it out from there. Friday night you try to watch some college wrestling. Indiana's well represented in the college ranks now, which is really cool. Saturday I try to hit like a duel or a meet, or not a meet, but or not a duel, but a meet. Whatever's big and wherever you're going to see some potential matchups, I'm pretty lucky. Like, I live in an area where there's some really good wrestling, and then Sunday just coming through results and texting the guys around the state. Like, obviously, Caleb and Howie and Dustin and Joe and you. Like, wherever you guys are at, I'm going to ask, like, hey, did you see anybody? Like, did you see this match? The score looks this way. So it's always really cool.
So on Sunday nights, you have to have your homework all done before 7 o'clock. The High School Wrestling Weekly comes on, right?
Oh, yeah, man, always. Just walked in right now, caught the end of a football game. I was like, man, I want to talk wrestling with my guys. I'm excited. The season started. I wanted to make it out there. We were at Evansville the weekend. You guys did the media day, and I was telling Dane, I was like, man, I should try to drive out there. My daughter was less than thrilled. We got rained out. I was like, hey, let's just shoot out to Fort Wayne from Evansville. She's like, nah.
She would have had fun. Hey, Mike, we thank you for coming on the show. As always, looking forward to hearing from you in the next couple of weeks as the season gets underway and everybody gets their first duel, their first tournament under their belts.
Yeah, for sure, man. Good. I'm excited to see you guys. Hopefully, Al Smith, I know that's one of the ones we always see. So.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike.
All right, thank you, guys.
That's been Mike Reiser from On the Rise, the rankings guru. And, Dane, it's interesting. He says that people always kind of track him down and say, hey, I need to do this. that's a pretty popular guy.
I think one thing that's not everybody appreciates is the fact that he's constantly thinking about what people think of the rankings, and he wants them to be right, and he's trying to make sure that he doesn't seem biased towards one group or another. And sometimes you find yourself being harder on your local guys than you probably should, because you don't want to be seen as a region guy where all the region guys get ranked higher than they should be. And I think sometimes that almost comes in reverse, because it's human nature to not want to give your local guys the advantage, and it's a really difficult job. And Mike does an incredible job. If you ever question how much time he puts into it, all you have to do is talk to him, and he is an encyclopedia of knowledge. He knows those kids. He knows what to expect from them. And I think one of the biggest things is when he sees a score between two kids, he knows what the context of that match is. For me as a writer, sometimes that's my biggest job, is not so much telling people what happened in the game, but why should I care that this happened?
Mm-hmm.
Why should I care that this team won by 20 points? Well, it's because most people expected them to win by 2 or 3 points, or they hadn't beaten this team in 3 years. Same thing on the wrestling side of things. This kid was a ticket rounder last year. When he just got beat by this first-year varsity kid, that puts that kid on the map.
Well, take Mike's job now, go back 40 years, and think how hard it was for Richard J. and Matt Burns to do with no social media or internet. So that ends our next segment. Let's send it back to studio for a round of commercials. Back with more High School Wrestling Weekly right here on WZBD.
Wygand Construction in Fort Wayne is building landmarks that impact the lives and communities we serve. At Wygand, we believe that our most important responsibility as a building contractor and construction company is to stand by our commitments to our clients and to our community. That's why we believe in supporting high school athletics, where our local teenagers show their commitments to their teammates, their coaches, their schools, and their communities. Wygand Construction. Trust. Well built.
Hi, this is Joel at Decatur Package Liquors, locally owned since 1965. I promise competitive prices and the best service in town. We offer bulk buy discounts for weddings, graduation parties, and other big celebrations. Special orders are also available and highly recommended. Don't forget about Wine Wednesday, where you get the best savings. Come on, guys, it's where your friends shop.
Decatur Package Liquors, with the best service and variety in town, now with locations in Monroe, Byrne, and Markle.
Welcome back to the Hager Hershey's Elk High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted by Double Eagle, once again live from the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. Rex Burlong and Dane Fuelling have made it to our final segment here. And usually you pull out your little black book and tell us what we're covering on WZBD this week. It's always a big event-filled schedule that we have here on WZBD.
Yeah, it certainly is a busy schedule for us as we get ready for semi-state football and really the true start to our wrestling broadcast schedule for this winter. We still are bringing in new ads. I know you love to hear that every day, and we're excited for some of the new people that are joining us. We'll give a shout-out to McIntyre Heating and Air Conditioning. Somebody who's been in business for 30 years and has never advertised during wrestling. He approached me. He said, I want to get in on wrestling. And I said, well, we do this. He said, I want to do that. I want to get in. I know that people listen. And so
Mac is always listening. I get texts from Mac all the time. Mac does all my heating, air conditioning stuff. He did work for my daughter in her new house. And I will be on a broadcast and I'll get a text from Mac. And, he's listening. Listens to everything.
So tomorrow night we've got Purdue's first big basketball game of the season. That is against Xavier. Tip-off at 8:30. Pre-game at 7:30. We got the Matt Painter Show then on Tuesday with the Pacers to follow. You can listen to the Ryan Walters Show as he talks about the Boilers' big win over Minnesota. Then on Wednesday night, it is Adams Central Girls Basketball with Dave Nathan and Luke Koenig. Looking forward to that one. On Thursday, it is myself and maybe John Kentz. I don't know. We'll find out what the plan is here as we've got Jay County against Columbia City. On Friday, we have a dual broadcast. On the air, you'll be able to listen to Adams Central football as they take on North Judson.
Saint Pierre.
On the YouTube side of things, we will have full coverage of Belmont's wrestling match against Wawasee. Then on Saturday, we will have Purdue football as they play Northwestern. And also a good game in girls basketball as Mike Mackey and Lou Koenig bring you the Belmont Braves and the Heritage Patriots. And then next week we'll have the Pacers on ahead of our episode of High School Wrestling Weekly. No Colts football next week, so no reason
they got a bye week, right?
To backtrack. We do want to talk a little bit about those Jay County girls and give a shout out to the girls who did really well yesterday at East Noble. Katie Rouse got the win at her weight class. Coach Bradley talked about the fact that these aren't true weight classes, and they were lumped together. And the way it looks like, everybody got 5 rounds of matches, and that's exactly what it's about when you're talking about November high school wrestling.
Now, Dan, I'd never heard of doing that, but that makes so much sense as to locking people in and said, this is what your weight is, but it's about getting matches.
Especially this early in the season. I see a couple of Wawa Sea girls who are on there. Looking forward to Jay County wrestling around the 103 area. Sophia Thomas placed 6th. Scrolling down, Tatiana Willis had a rematch with Lily Quinn from North Miami, a match that you guys saw. Willis takes 2nd there. Scrolling down further, there's a Columbia City girl that's Emily Burford, who took 4th at 116 to 120. Callie Yates finished 3rd, so we'll see a rematch of that likely on Thursday. Elizabeth Wendell got 5th for Jay County at 120. Also in there as we get closer down to Mallory Winter, Willow Hardy got 3rd for Jay County, and she also wrestled a Columbia City girl, and they finished in 3rd and 4th place. Lena Lingo, Nat Wood really high on her and thinks she has a lot of potential. She finished 3rd. A girl from Mishawaka, Kaylee Smith, won it, and Alexis Spalding from Columbia City was 2nd, so should be a good match for Lena on Thursday. Emily Maynard was 1st in her pool, and as we scroll down further, we get to Mallory. I forgot about Malia Parsons. She finished runner-up, and there's so with these groups, Rex, they got grouped in groups of 6. And so there were multiples of them at different weights. Haley Ridenour got 3rd for Jay County. And I keep scrolling down and I keep waiting for Mallory to come onto my screen. And Tessa Miller for Jay County. And maybe Mallory didn't wrestle this weekend. Maybe that's why I keep scrolling down and I can't get her. Kylie Williams, one of the returning state placers from Jay County. She finished in 1st in the weight class near 190. But looking forward to Jay County's match on Thursday. We also want to give a shout out to all those head coaches in Indiana who have girls teams and girls wrestlers on their teams. There is a new Women's Coaches Association that's being put together by our friend Gary Myers and advocating for the girls as they approach full status with the IHSAA. So if you are a coach and you are listening and you have girls on your teams, please get on it's IHSGW, Indiana High School Girls Wrestling.net. That's where Gary has all of his information, or reach out to Pat Culp or to Gary Myers and get more information on that, because there's a lot of things coming down the pipe. And the IHSAA, honestly, some people may disagree, but the IHSAA wants people's input. They want to know, okay, you're a coach. I want to know, what do you think that we should have 3 levels of the tournament? Do you think it should be completely over by the time the boys start? Do you think it should be on Friday nights? Do you think it should be at the same site as the boys? Yeah. All of those things are up in the air until the IHSAA decides them, and having a coaches association specifically advocating for the girls, I think it's a great idea.
Now, when Nat and I covered that match at Jay County the other night, being up in a crow's nest, we wouldn't have been able to see this, but we were right down on the floor, right next to the scores table, and they weighed them in right there next to us, because now they weigh them in the gym in their uniform. They walked up. You would not have been able to see that Leah Lingo was excited about weigh-ins because she was cutting weight, and she's like, I'm hungry, I want to eat, let's just get this over with now. And Nat said that she's kind of rededicated herself. First couple years of wrestling, this girl's wrestling, I'm just kind of going through the motion. But she's seen the success that Mallory had, and she has buckled down, and she has really trained hard this year. Went to a lot of summer wrestling, really beefing up her schedule. Changed weight class, dropped down, and you can tell that she's wrestling solid. And she wrestled a really tough girl from Blackford that, they went at it in regionals last year, and it was as good a match. It was the best match we saw of the night.
And then don't forget then 3 weeks from Thursday, then we'll have another girls match as New Haven takes on Jay County. That's up at New Haven. Then we'll have all 3 levels of the state tournament, from the regional to the semi-state to the state finals at Kokomo, and WZBD is as excited as anybody is for that state tournament.
That's like Jay County 2 weeks in a row, isn't it? Regional and a semi-state?
Semi-state's at Rochester.
Okay.
Semi-state's at Rochester, and then team state is the morning after.
Well, I just
keep it all. You just wait for me to tell you where to go.
A couple of days ahead, you just tell me, you got to go here. Like the first girls match is like, we got a match Thursday. It's like, no, we don't. And he's like, yeah, we got a girls match. It's like, oh, that season starts already.
It's here, Rex. I'm excited for it. We haven't even talked about the Belmont Wrestle-Offs. We'll do that after the break.
With that, send back to the studio for round of commercials. Back with more High School Wrestling Weekly here on WZBD.
Based out of the Indiana Tech Wrestling Facility, the Warrior Regional Training Center is an elite training center for youth wrestlers, high school wrestlers, and college and senior level athletes. Featuring a college coaching staff with a strong history of developing talent and producing results, Warrior RTC will give any wrestler quality training partners to push them to new levels in the state-of-the-art 25,000 square foot wrestling building. The training is affordable and private training is also available. Put Warrior RTC in your corner this season.
Experience the magic of Evansville, Indiana, where Hoosier hospitality shines bright. Stroll along our scenic riverfront, indulge in local cuisine, and immerse yourself in history and culture. From family-friendly attractions to outdoor adventures, Evansville has it all. Visit the mesmerizing Mesker Park Zoo and Botanic Garden, or explore the city's rich history at the USS LST 325. Ready to start planning your stay? Discover everything our city has to offer at exploreevansville.com. Evansville, Indiana, where memories are made.
Welcome back once again to the High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted by Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. Rex Brewer along with Dane Fuelling. As we made it to our final section where he wants to touch on the rumble in the streets at the Belmont Wrestle-Offs. And Dane, I don't know how many years he can roll the dice and still get good weather and have it not snow. I mean, it was cooler this year than it was last year. Last year was like 70-something. It was really nice.
But I'll tell you what, the crowd was just as big this year as it was last year. And I don't think the cold really kept anybody away. I know I was talking to my dad after the matches, and we thought that perhaps the mat got a little bit dewy and maybe a little bit dangerous. But from if you just were sitting there watching it, it didn't seem to really have any effect on the boys. There were a lot of leather jackets. You don't usually see wrestlers warming up in their leather jackets, but you definitely did on Thursday. There were some good matches. I was most interested to see what would happen at 190. It didn't end up happening the way I thought it was going to, because Aiden Miller didn't end up being in the mix. I don't think he made it down to 190. So it was just really Devin Gephardt and Cole Mendez. There for a while, I thought it was going to be 3 seniors vying for that one spot. Gephardt ends up winning against Ryan Fawbush in the prelims, and then in the wrestle-offs, it was Cole Mendez who I think had the upper hand. I really hope that Devin sticks with it and allows himself to be part of the team. Those 190 boys need to be ready, because surely at some point Tim is going to move Keegan Martin up to heavyweight to win a couple of duels.
Yep.
And there's going to need to be some flexibility there, especially with injury. We saw that last year. So hopefully those boys stick with it and don't, like we talked earlier in the show, don't call it quits and are part of the team. I also really like what Tim did in taking, Belmont's only got 4 boys from 106 to 126. He came up with the idea, let's have them wrestle each other. Let's have Ben Mills wrestle Ethan Curtis. Let's have Henry Farrote wrestle Will Franzi, and let's get those kids some matches. It seems kind of weird to have them wrestling each other, even though they already have varsity spots. But it's also about being out in front of the crowd, having an official wrestling under the new high school rules. I know Josh Howard was talking after the match about there are some pretty significant rule changes in the way some things are being called. All of those things are going to help as the season gets started, in the fact that they had those matches. Belmont dealing with some injuries already. It's not the ideal lineup. I don't think that what they thought they were going to have 3 or 4 weeks ago. We didn't see Gavin Davis. We didn't see Blake Luganbill. I'm hoping that those guys make their way back into the lineup sooner rather than later. But if you look at the guys who made varsity, I think that Belmont team can be pretty competitive. My biggest concern is that when it comes to depth, We see some of the injuries that Belmont sustained over the last couple of years. Are they going to have enough depth to be able to provide cover when some of those guys get hurt? And you get into some of those meat grinders of tournaments where you can't expect somebody to wrestle 5 matches in a day and come out and be able to wrestle the next Tuesday.
Now, not that I have to promote the website, but if you have not made it out there, that article out there about the Rumbling Streets, a lot of great photos there. Who was behind the camera that night? Is that you or Combo?
It was just me. It was
you?
just me. We've got a Mary Free action shot in there. She probably doesn't even know that. Even got a Mary Free action shot. Josh Howard did a great job, and we give a shout-out to him. He's one of the good friends of this show and to WZBD, and it was a good time.
So that's week 3 in the can, so to speak.
It is.
I'd like to thank you for tuning in. I'd like to thank Steve Rouse for running board for us. Once again, tune in for the podcast. Dave Nathan usually has that up in a day or so, and re-listen to it if you didn't get around to listen to here live. But once again, join us. We're back here next week, right?
Back here next week. We've got girls wrestling on Thursday, Belmont wrestling on Friday, and, of course, semi-state football on Friday.
With that, we're signing off. Have a good week here on WZBD.